Hi, I'm Kath from Hedgehog and Hoot. Before we start on our little miniature polar bear Christmas decoration workshop, I just want to quickly run through health and safety with working with felting needles. So we're going to be working with a 38 star needle. As you can see from the microscope display, the magnified one here, the 38 star has lots of small barbs going around in a star formation. It's a brilliant all-round needle that can be used for quickly felting down larger bodies of core fibre, but also it's really good for getting a nice smooth surface by poking just with the tip of the needle. You've got the other side of the range really with the 32 triangle here, where you can see there's great big barbs and hooks. These barbs themselves aren't too sharp, but the end of the needle is incredibly sharp. So when you're working, always take care, take your time, work slowly, watching carefully where you're stabbing, and work down into your work on top of either a felt mat, a rice bag, or your polystyrene. There's a rice bag, so you can work down onto a rice bag. This is my preferred thing to work on, or a polystyrene square like you've been given in your little kits. We don't need a big piece for this work because it is very small. Felting needles, you should always poke straight down. Don't try and twist the needle, bend the needle in any way. So you can stab in sideways at 45 degrees, so long as that needle's kept straight. Don't be tempted to pull and move fibres. So if there was a little bit of something there and you try to pull, don't try and do that, because the needle is incredibly brittle and it will just snap. If you bend your needle slightly, just keep working until it breaks. Don't try and bend it back again. It doesn't bend back easily like that, and you don't want to get bits of metal into your fingers. Broken needles, if you've got access to a sharps bin, obviously put them in that. Otherwise, make sure they're well wrapped up in corrugated cardboard, sellotaped all up, so make them safe before disposing of in a bin. The other thing to watch in, remember, is that you're working with animal fibre, and although it's been processed and well processed, there still could be little bits of vegetable matter in which might have thorns. And as with anything animal fibre based, just be aware that, you know, you want to be washing your hands just in case. Although once they've been through a mill or heavily cleaned and processed, it's usually got rid of all lanolin and all other interesting things that animal products can give, so it should be fine. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to be making the polar bear, mini polar bear decoration, or the mini mouse decoration. I'll talk to you about how to go from a polar bear like this little one to a mouse just by making bigger ears and giving it a pink tail and maybe a pink nose, but we will sort that out when it comes. So start off by taking everything out of your pack, and we're going to start with the white wool here, which is a Corriedale sliver, and the fibres are all nicely mixed up together, which makes felting really quick and easy. You're going to take roughly 30 centimetres. So hold your wool at the 30 centimetre point and just pull gently. Keep your hands fairly far apart, and then the fibres will just open out. So it doesn't matter that we have got over 30 centimetres. We just need to have a good 30, because these slivers are a little bit thinner than some of the other colours. Some of you will have robin kits and other ones that have got much thicker slivers in. You'll just get a slightly larger decoration. So we're going to start then. Get the ruler out the way, and the first thing we're going to do is roll this up to start forming the dome shape of the body. You can see dome. Sometimes it's easy just to fold in to a rough point to get you started, and then roll it up. Keep it fairly tight. The less air and fluff you get, the easier it is to felt, because you're already firm compared to how it would be if you'd rolled it loose and airily. So smooth around the end and then just gently poke to fix in the fibres. You'll see you're stabbing carefully, looking where you're going. Watch that gap between your fingers. If you've not got a wool mat or a rice bag, go down onto your piece of foam. Once you've firmed in, you notice that I'm turning all the time while I'm poking. You want to then think about making the domed top, and you do that by just gently lifting up a small bit of the outer fluff and poking that in, and then turn, lift the next bit up and poke it in. And do that all the way round. Please excuse my neighbour's cow in the background. I don't know if you can hear it. It's not in distress. It's calling for another cow that was its friend. Oh, I suppose it is. And then just keep poking. Once you've got the rough dome shape, flip it over and then bring the pieces, we're after a flat bottom on that of the dome. So fold it over, poke. Again, really watch your fingers. You can see we've got the basic shape. Now you need to keep poking so that the whole surface becomes firm and you're happy with the shape. So you just keep working and working and working at it. The more you poke, the firmer it will become. You can see I'm not stabbing all the way through like this. I'm just poking in into the first 2 centimetres of the wool. Keep working all the way around. Whichever direction, wherever you poke, that's where you're pushing the fibres away from the needle. So as you poke, it becomes compressed and the fibres knit together. So if you've got a lumpy area somewhere, you just poke it where you want it to shrink down, and then you can just keep shaping. So keep shaping and shaping and shaping till you're happy with your shape. Here's in Blue Peter style, one I made earlier. It's quite nice and firm and it's a nice shape. The next thing we're going to do is make the ears. So we're going to take 6 centimetres . And we're going to split that in half lengthways so that we get 2 pieces that are the same size. Now this 6 centimetres will give you mouse size ears. If you want polar bear little ears, take an extra centimetre off. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier, which is really important, when you're not working with your needle, pop it into either your felt pad or your polystyrene. Keep it safe so that you don't end up stabbing yourself or any pets accidentally. We wouldn't want any injuries. So, okay, ears. Once you've got your strips, you're going to take hold both ends. So you've got fluffy end here, fluffy end here, and you're going to twist it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then bring your right hand in front of your left hand and pop them on top of each other. A bit like the charity ribbons that you can get. Pop it down and poke it where the cross is. Now, I like to work on, if I'm making a pair of anything, or say 4 legs that all need to be the same size, I try and work on all 2 or 4 at the same time. So for the ears to be the same size, I part make one, and then I'll part make the other. So that was pick up your wool, turn it 1, 2, 3 times, right hand in front of left hand, pop it down, felt in to your polystyrene or your felt mat. I'm going on to my felt mat now, as obviously it's white wool and I've got white polystyrene. Now, if it was your polar bear ears, you'd make the crossover tighter so that the ear itself would be smaller. So we're going to poke round, round and round so that you start to form a little cup shape. Lift off of your polystyrene every so often, turn it over. Keep slowly poking. I tend to poke a little bit faster than maybe I should when demoing. If really just to try and speed up a demo, this is the rate you probably want to be poking to start off. Remember what I said about keeping the needle always the actual needle straight, but you can go in at whatever angle so long as you're not trying to bend the needle. Now, if this is going to be a mouse, you might want to put a little bit of pink in those ears. So I'm going to take a small amount of pink, screw it up ever so slightly, and I really want to just be poking in with the very tip of my needle. If you drive that through too fast and too deep, the pink will all go through to the other side of the ear. So if you go very, very gently, you get a nice little pinky insert into the ear. With the polar bear, I don't tend to put colour in the inside of the ear. The shadow casts enough to give it a little cup shaped ear. But obviously the mouse ears are a good bit bigger. If it was a polar bear ear, we'd be looking at twist, twist, twist 3 times, round. Maybe go with little dinky ears, like so. Okay, so, right, once you have felted your ear and that crossover's nice and firm, the ear shape is what you'd like, you take a little bit longer than I'm taking on it. Then want to pinch this area firmly. Gently pull away any fibres that are loose and open out all of the fluffy end into call it an umbrella shape or like a mushroom. It means that you get a good fixing point using all of these very fine fibres, so they'll all smooth in. So on both ears, watch out for any little bits of vegetable matter. Get rid of them. Pull off any looser bits. Remember to hold firmly here. We don't want to undo all the good work you've done. Open all of that out so that you get your umbrella shape. Make sure there's no lumps and bumps. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be taking our dome shape and we'll sit the ear. If you imagine you drew a rectangle, it would be on each corner. Loosely tack each ear in position so you can check the shape. So if you really wanted big ears on a mouse, you could go even bigger. You've got lots of fibre in your packs to be able to make at least 2, if not 3, 4 characters. When you're happy and you've decided, yep, that's kind of where I like everything, smooth the fibres so you can make a nice neat join. Just take your time to felt in all those loose fibres. So keep going. You want to make sure you've got a really firm, neat join here. And by having your fibres all nice and open, it means you won't see where you've joined your ear on, or your tail, or your snout, or whichever bit you are joining. If you can use that opened out umbrella method, like I say, it gives you a really neat, firm join. Okay, so you end up with little ears attached there. We'll put the polar bear's ears out the way. Okay, we'll move on to doing the snout next. So it's about 3 centimetres this time, and we're going to that to one side, roll it up. And before we do any poking this time, we're going to have it rolled up. We're going to fold it in half and just draw down some of the fibres from each side to help give it a nice smooth edges. Smooth all that in. You can see how much shaping and manipulation I'm doing with my hands before I even think about using the needle. And the more you can do by folding, squeezing out air, rolling, tucking edges under, it makes the whole process much, much easier. So once you've folded, held in, start poking and shaping. Remember, wherever you stab most, that's going to make the fibres go together most. So if you want a blunt-nosed muzzle, more like this one, you don't need to do too much. You can just go at it like that, felt a bit more round the outside, open it all out and plop it on. I'm going to make this more into the mouse, so I'll sharpen up the nose a little bit, make it a little bit more pointed by poking the ends a little bit more. Keep going. get a really fine finish, it takes a lot of poking. And then to get rid of pock marks, you poke even finer and shallower. So you'd be going really, really, really shallow. The top couple of mils of your needle. And the nice thing with the 38 star needle is that it has barbs that go for decent length of the needle. So you do get to use it as an all-round needle. The 38, I'm sure you've picked up by now, 38, the higher the number, the finer the needle. And the star, as I showed you in the first little clip, is the shape of the needle. There's also a spiral needle that's come into play these days, and that gives you even more barbs as you go round. I haven't found it a lot of difference when using a star and a spiral. So like I say, I tend to always use the 38 star. Okay, so opening out the edges. This time we need to be a little bit careful because we've got some bits where the fibres have all wrapped in. So I'm going to pull and actually break those so that I can get my nice tidy join that I keep talking about. Place your little muzzle wherever you want it first. Tack it down. Make sure you're happy with where it's going to go. Okay. And then really felt it in. So the instructions in your pack talk you through making the polar bear all the way through. I know quite a lot of you asked for a mouse, which I'm hoping you were shown the picture of the polar bear and you thought was a mouse, or maybe I don't know. Anyway, so we're going with just this simple little character here. Okay, so once you're happy, he's there. There's his little face. So the next thing I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to give him a little pink nose. So again, a small amount. I'm going to halve what I've got there. I'm going to fold all the edges under. So he's got quite a rounded pink nose on the end there. And very, very, very carefully poke that in. You can see how even that would look like a small amount of fibre is actually a huge amount for this little nose. But as we keep poking, it'll firm in. And these are very simplified little animals. From the dome shape, you can make just about any beastie other than something like a snake. Okay, so you've got a little pink nose on the end of the mouse there. To get the eyes, the first thing I do is I'll have a look and I'll just stab round and round and round in a circle, roughly where I want those eyes to go. Remember, if the eyes are too close together, it can give things a bit of a shifty look, makes them more bad-tempered looking. As they go wider, they tend to look more friendly. If they go too wide, they can look a little bit confused, really. So it's important to get your right positioning for the mood you want. A small amount of black. Okay, split it in two. Now there's two ways you can do the eyes. I'm sure there's more. You can roll it so that you end up with a little bit of a tadpole tail. Stab the tadpole tail into the hole and then just keep poking, and let me see, it draws itself all into the hole. If you want an even finer eye, this could look a bit odd, whenever I want something fine spots, I'll twist so that I get a small, almost strip of more like yarn, and then hold, and I'll stab the fluffy end into where I want to go and keep drawing it in that way. And you can get a really, really fine dot by doing this way. The other thing you can do is draw with it by laying the lines and drawing out where you want to go. Keep going. If you've taken too much fibre and you've done your eye and you've thought, oh, that's way, 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 way too much, put a fingernail, or preferably a thumbnail if you've got decent nails, really push it in firm and pull, and it will break off the yarn. If you won't break easily, then snip it with a pair of scissors as a last resort. When you cut it, you make a blunted end, and so they can be harder to hide it all in. When you've got a soft frayed end, it's always easier to get them all felted in. So now we've got a mouse with eyes. He then needs tail. So as I was mentioning very briefly earlier, if you take some of your yarn and you twist it, take some of the wool and you twist it to make more of a yarn, you can stab in the fluffy end and then literally draw with it. So later in one of the other videos I talk about putting lines onto an owl, and it'd be the same method. Take thin amounts and draw where you want to go. I shall bring this round and then I can show you breaking the yarn off. So say I want my tail to end there. I'll push my fingernail in. I don't have much fingernails. As hard as I can. Break the fibres to get rid of the excess. And then keep poking in. So you can see then I twizzle to just get the wisps and stab. There is no pressure on the needle. Don't want to put any sideways forces on these needles. And make sure that's really well stabbed in. And you've got a little tail on the back. Okay, then we can pop a scarf on it. So you've been given a couple of colours. I think you've got purple and red in most of your packs. So with your scarf, you could plait it just by taking it down into strips, make 3 strips and plait it. Or you can just simply turn it round a little bit, decide where you want it to go. Don't want it to cover up my tail, so in this case I should have put the scarf on before I did the tail, till I don't normally make a mouse with a scarf. I've also put you a crown in each bag, so you might want to use the crown on your bird or your what else are you doing? I can't think which other kits there are. The rabbit, the mouse, the polar bear. You can choose which one you want to use the crown on. So you maybe put a scarf on a couple and a crown on one. It's up to you. And then all we're doing there is just adding the colour on top. In the vegan kit, you'll do everything the same using the carded toy stuffing. And then if you want it to have a more woolly look to it, there's toy stuffing that I've carded with shredded recycled cotton, and that's all been mixed up, so you can add a coating all over of that and maybe make the nose and the ears out of the recycled cotton and carded stuffing. Or if you like the look just of the plain stuffing, just go for it and use that. So you can tidy up, go all the way round. This little fella's got a bit of a strange scarf thing going on. You can see what I mean about the way you stab pushes those fibres in. You can really control where you want it, life of its own, want it to go. Keep going, going, going. I've also put yarn in the vegan one so that you can plait a little scarf to go around it with acrylic yarn. Okay, so that is the mouse done very, very simply and rather quickly. Maybe take a little more time, stab a little slower, and really finish yours off neatly. To get rid of any final little wisps and bits, if you take a pair of fine scissors and hold them flat too, you can just almost shave off some of the worst of the fuzzies. But the best way to get rid of the fuzzies is lots and lots of stabbing at a very, 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 just the very tip of your needle, or if you really mustn't lose any more of the depth and size and shape, go at a slight more acute angle. So you're going in like so, and just keep working all over. It'll tighten up all of the surface eventually. It takes a long time, but it won't lose any of the size or shaping that you've done. So have fun with that. For the polar bear tail, I've not mentioned the polar bear tail. You're taking almost the same as the snout, so about 3 centimetres, roll it up, fold it over, smooth down those edges, poke it all the way round to form a loose little button, kind of bun shape for his tail. Once you're happy, open out those fibres and pop it in position. Always tack round first, checking you're happy. If you don't like it, so say you think, oh, I wanted it lower down or higher up, all you've got to do is pull it off. Even if you've put things on quite firmly, you can usually pull them off. Don't try and pull them off with the needle. Maybe use, if you've got a bradawl at home, just use that, or use some scissors or your fingernails. Okay, brilliant. So that is the polar bear and the mouse. So going forward from those, you just keep using your imagination, and you can go on to make all sorts of things based on this dome shape. You can see the dome in everything. There's a funny little Highland cow, which, yeah, he's there. And I'm going to do some short clips just to show how to make the robin, the sheep, the owl, and also the only one that isn't based on the dome is a Christmas tree. So I shall go on and pop some more little videos on to explain all of those. Okay, enjoy.